I have chosen two selected films to do my video essay on, while also trying to relate it to each other. Films I have chosen to do research on, and my analysis is Moya the Albino, recommended by Julia Reynolds herself, and the other one is called Bouquet, an Iceland film that focuses on the drama and horror-like aspect. They are both shot in the same country, both focus on different sorts of genre of film, but they are very similar in specific ways. I'll be questioning the concepts of world cinema and the filming history of the country that I'll be studiously researching on for the past couple of days. So sit back, relax, have a lime read or two, and ease yourself into a phenomenal filming learning experience of the ages. Also, this is Azro 12, and you are watching Hife. Not the kids' show, Hife.
Make me stay no more. It ends next to Amy's grave with the prayer hands and the shaky legs, still panicking. Won't you take me away, and I'll stay.
The Icelandic film history dates back to the 1900s, where they were first introduced to filmmaking. One of the oldest and well-preserved films made during the time was between 1906 and 1919, which is called The Story of the Borg Family, directed by Dane Alfred Lund, and is a 3-minute documentary. An adaptation of the same film was also made around the 1920s by none other than Gunnar Sommerfeld. I'm just gonna go, which also happens to be one of the first featured films to be shot in Iceland. A number of filmmakers within the region began pursuing their dreams in filmmaking in Europe, working under Iceland television. They created films such as Adventures of John and Vendor, released in 1923, which is the first altogether Icelandic film. Between the Mountain and the Shore, released in 1949, the first distinctive film for the first official feature film in Iceland. By then, they started to get into the variety of things, especially when the television RUV 1966, and Iceland was founded in 1978, as the Icelandic film industry growth was ever so expanding due to the winding success of short films and docos, and many grew interested in the concepts of Iceland, therefore creating a world cinema-like attraction, which was quoted by Birger Thor Moller. On the topic of world cinema, what exactly is world cinema? Reading from the best place to get sources, from Wikipedia, Quora, YouTube videos, and other various sites. We will use the help of legal websites to help investigate furthermore into this heated argument. What is the difference between Hollywood cinema and Bollywood cinema? Although some individuals will think that world cinema is the summarization of all films around the globe, hence world cinema, or whether it's a collection of foreign films, hence world cinema. Regardless of the overheated debates that collide amongst each other while the Amazon forest is still running aflame, we are here to announce which of the two is authentic and fiction. Anyways, we're introduced to our first character within the film. Watching this film at 3 AM in the morning has been quite the experience, if I do say so myself. I keep thinking of concepts to what this film could be leading up to. Will the character somehow become some sort of huge success? Or will the tragic end come towards Noir, who is the main character of the story, of course? I don't know, wasn't sure. That's what really kept me in check. So thoroughly going through this perspective in life itself, not knowing the consequences, that's when I noticed the way they shot this film. They did it in a way which was really real and authentic, something you don't usually see in Hollywood blockbusters. This somehow had a real atmospheric flame to it that I can explain or express once you watch the film. Ending especially really poked at my heartstrings, which gave sympathy to those characters that we see throughout the film. You do have to give credit where it is indeed deserved, especially in this film, mostly speaking of its beautiful backdrops and its engaging storyline that gives you geared in, whether it'll be at a school or a library, home where the dad lives, home where the girlfriend lives, the historical museum that they break into so they'd be a bit cheeky and spend time together. All these elements tell a story about this individual that was wandering aimlessly, not knowing what to do with his life, and later going through a very conflicted and tragic phase at the end. It tells about a boy who knows his own flaws and his geniuses, but doesn't want to pursue his education, instead wants to take an easier route, with the misfortunate passing of his closest friends, family, and loved ones. Although it is portrayed as a sorrowful and saddening story, in the weird sense that it is also really captivating and perfect in a way that I can't describe. There was only one thing that comes into mind when I was watching this film, and that was authentic. And to me, that was a perfect summarization of this movie. I loved it very much. and I would recommend it to anyone that is looking for any sort of movies that have a great story to it. It might not have these whole flashy lights of choreographic scenes, but I can assure you that the story balances everything that it sets out to. It came out in 2017, directed by Jeffrey Wolfwine and Andrew Sullivan. At first, this film starts out with these two characters, Riley, the boyfriend, who captures the moment with a camera that I didn't even know the name of, and his loyal companion, Jenny.
Love me, Jenny.
The lovely and amazing landscapes of ice, while indulging themselves in a bit of enjoyment themselves. Everything is all cute and perfect, and seems it's going to be quite the ride, and less stressful one at least. If you're thinking that, you are absolutely wrong. So wrong. The minute Jenny wakes up from her deprived state of mind, she looks out the blinds to find some sort of weird, flashy shockwave of light. Riley then tries to wake up the still sleeping Jenny of her girlfriend. Walked outside and were confused to see a bunch of empty stores, empty cars, and a whole lot of gingerbread latte. Scared and desperate for the other forms of human contact, leads them to frantically start searching around Iceland's area, isolated streets, and end up right back at the spot that they've rented out for the past week or so, leaving a bitter cold taste in both of their mouths. Ending the scene and moving on to the next. The next morning, they decided that it shouldn't be time to dwell on the dramatic change of our environments and commit to using everything around them to their advantage. So, what was the best sort of action they set out for? They get high and drunk and play a bit of Monopoly, spend most of their time having a great banter all around. They have a little fight about resources and blueberry yogurts, I think. So they eventually spend time to themselves around the Icelandic city, while Riley is chilling at the bottom of the swimming pool and Jenny is going mentally insane with the statue. So they both have another fight, and they both separate paths yet again, almost an hour in, and we've seen the two characters having conflicts with one another. But they just keep clashing against one another, knowing that all their efforts slowly going to succumb to an end, but they are trying. And one day, something drastic came about. World cinema. So speaking about world cinema, what I found out about it as a whole, world cinema is a globalization of all films in a sense. Whether your favorite films fall under the escapism and entertainment, or art and story, etc, etc. And I'll summarize it up in a shorter way that hopefully you'll understand. If not, I'm sorry for my horrible explanations in the progress. First, cinema is what you would usually call Hollywood films. An easier way to put it into categorization is its main purpose is financial success and sustainability. The Hollywood cinema as a whole isn't mostly just consist of making money. I mean, that is a beneficial attribute. Some films submitted have a sort of art side to it as well. Strictly for the world cinema categorization, Hollywood is usually known for its blockbusters and bangers and hits. Although many films with a huge budget can also have a decent story, second cinema's main purpose is storytelling and art, so pretty much the exact opposite of first cinema. And the two films that I have indeed selected fit perfectly into this story. Although one of them has a bit of sci-fi like horror elements going on within its own universe, we're just going to forget that it doesn't exist for a minute and just focus on the ideas and visuals behind it all. First off, the story for both of these films, they have similar elements for the second cinema section. Two things I can say are similar. They have a compelling story that is in a way realistic and authentic, something that you don't normally get or feel from first cinema. Mainly because first cinema focuses on entertainment and fantasy, while second cinema plan is to tell the truth with a compelling story. Although storytelling can also be told in first cinema, there's a difference in a sense from one of the other. Although my first experience with the second cinema was presumably boring in a sense, there's also another way to say that it's authentic, if you get what I'm trying to say. Although they are mostly more enjoyable watching by yourself. Find the right people and you can definitely say that you're having a great time. Another great explanation for a second film, for second cinema, is having long takes throughout the film, usually to portray realism through these shots, adding more expressive emotion to those characters within the story. All the long ongoing wide shots of the scenery, so beautiful and wondrous. Third cinema is the idea of self-expressing and collaboration of other people coming together to spread a message of activism and revolution, further exploring onwards onto those that will and will not listen. Third cinema is not particularly made to be sold. It's typically meant to be watched, claimed distant, in order to prevent others from the risk of harm or oneself. Especially fourth cinema is another word for indigenous cinema, which focuses on the history of the indigenous people and the past of which they've been through, or at least that's what I think it means. Given the different sorts and types of cinema films out there, I do have to say that without the first cinema's rise to fame and wealthy endorsement, I gotta admit that maybe without first cinema, we'd most likely not have second, third, and fourth cinema. Because of that, we've gotten hidden masterpieces of films that are in need of spread and awareness, not only for its greatness, but of what story it tells. Because generally speaking, as for my own opinion, films are all about telling a story, and isn't that what matters? In conclusion to this video essay, we have gone through many canyons and roads to get here. For that, I would like to thank everyone in cooperation with this project. I do hope that you thoroughly enjoy this experience, as I have indeed. Although there are different genres of film, whether it'll be first cinema, labeled as the over-exaggerated fantasy and sci-fi, second cinema being the exact opposite of the first, it focuses more on realism and authenticity, third cinema's purpose of spreading awareness of activism, messages to those who will and not engage in the revolution, or fourth cinema films about the history of indigenous past conflicts or survivability, everyday and life. They are all unique in their own positive and negative ways. The reason why we're so passionate to see something bad about a specific movie, or trying to classify it as this genre, this one, regardless of these collisions with other people and their opinions as a whole, is pretty much enthusiasm for caring about films as an entirety. They have these sort of point of views because they actually care about it and wish for it to be more than what was presented. Bad ideas aren't bad ideas, is what I've learned from this experience. It's up to the audience, viewer, or whoever's watching to just enjoy, whether they are in the safety of their own homes or at the cinemas. I want to have the best experience from these sort of films, because you can and you will, whether it was bad or good. They were all experiences in which carry a lot of weight in your life. Coping mechanism for bringing others closer for a bit of laugh, a bit of tears, and maybe a bit of motivation, inspiring younger artists such as ourselves. You do what you do. As long as you're having fun, nothing else matters. That concludes my conclusion, therefore signing me out of the audio shits. Hope you enjoyed, stay safe, see you in another lifetime, or not.
Don't fill up my drink, whoa, I don't feel no ways, whoa, sometimes make it up if I climb too high my tumble.